Morning, everybody. We have Dan Hudock. We have Leigh Frank. How are we today?
We good.
We be good. All right. So welcome back. PTS, Dan and Leigh. It's a little bit of a different show today, shall we say.
It is.
So today we want to take a little extra time. We want to talk about some of the marketing realities going into 2023. So last year we heard a lot of the chatter about, hey, there's a recession or the recession's coming. There's more of that chatter this year. Interest rates are still going up. There's a lot of financial pressure on all of us, frankly. So the question then becomes, how do you treat marketing during more difficult financial times? And I want to chat it through with the two of you because we see it where financial times get rough and there's a certain number of people, they just call us and say, hey, I want to stop. Don't want to continue marketing. And I think there's a large trend with that's one of the first line items that people put a line through and walk away from, they step back from. So I want to talk about the value in marketing into more difficult times, why it's important not to let up off the gas. If you can, bump it, increase it if possible, what you're spending into it. But then also the sales aspect and why that's so crucial to sales, the pipeline, the activity, the flow, all that good stuff. So Leigh, why don't you kick us off on the marketing side and talk about the value of marketing into downtimes and why it's important and some of the things to think about.
Absolutely. So one of the things that is top of mind is thinking about what you just said. There will be competitors of yours who will do exactly what John said. They will pump the brakes, they will stop advertising, and they will have no real discernible presence in terms of attracting new business. So on some level, you're in a less crowded field at that point. You have an opportunity to really stand out and to make your business a top of mind business. So I think in a lot of ways, it provides you with an opportunity to really kind of establish yourself as a leader in your industry, in your field, because the market's less crowded. Um, you know, these are services that the majority of kind of your clients, these are still services that people need. And in a down market, they may need the services more. They may need your advice and your help more. Um, and so being that sort of trusted leader, confidant, this is also a great time for that piece as well. And then there's one other thing that I've been thinking a lot about. So you're still going to want a pipeline, right? I mean, just because the market has taken a downturn doesn't mean you're like, all right, well, I'm not going to do anything for the next couple of years. Let's just see what happens. That's not what you're going to do. So you stop all of your marketing. Is it because you have another idea, like a cheap idea that's going to bring all these clients to you? Is that your plan? Because I don't think, if that's your plan, why aren't you doing that now? If it's
Sure.
something that's really successful and good and it's less expensive, why wouldn't you be doing that now? And
Yeah.
if you had the capacity to do it, I think you would be. Um, the other piece of this puzzle that I think is important to consider too is your message. That might be something that you might want to think about changing. When you're out in the market, now is a great time to talk about safety and security, and the types of things that make people feel very good about associating with you. I think that's a really important piece as well. Um, and Dan, I think you may have the opportunity to talk about this a little bit more. I think there's some other things that people should be prepared for, that a sales process might take a little bit longer right now. When budgets are tighter, previously maybe the sales manager had the capacity to greenlight a new spend, and maybe going forward now it's going to have to run up the chain a little bit, and you might be looking at a CEO. So you may need to spend some time thinking about your sales process and the pipeline and the timeline of it, because those things may be something that will realistically change as well. Those are
Yeah.
kind of the big things that I'm thinking. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Do you what do you all think?
Hey,
Yeah,
Dan,
so
what? Yeah,
I always look at it this way. When's the best time to put a new roof on your house? When it's raining or when it's sunny?
Mm.
The best time is when it's sunny. Of course, we all know that. Who wants to put a new roof on the house when it's currently raining? And I look at that in business. When do we want to increase sales and marketing? Whenever times are really rough and hard, or when times are really good? And isn't it better to do it when times are good? But here's the problem, and I hear this so many times from owners. I can't take in more sales. I don't have the people. I don't have the manufacturing space. And when I have those conversations with them, what I really find out is they're nervous,
Mm.
because if they build more manufacturing space or they hire more people, what happens if everything starts to go down again? Now they've got all this investment into things and people that they don't need. And what a terrible tragedy to be thinking along those lines. Oh my goodness, things are good. I'll just
Yeah.
ride this out. And then when they turn bad, I'll start to pump up the volume and get going again. It almost seems counterproductive, but I think that's what we as humans do. You know, when do we start eating healthy? For the most part, it's when people are going through a major illness, or they've had surgery on their heart, or maybe they just are tired of looking themselves in the mirror and they go, I want to lose 50 pounds. So they go through all this stuff, diet and exercise and everything, blah, blah, blah. And then they get really healthy. And what do most people do at that moment? They stop and they resort back to what they did before. And over the years, they creep back up to just where they were. Well, maybe we need to quit looking at it like I need to diet and start looking at it like I'm a healthy person. So, how do healthy people act? What do they do? What do they eat? And when you do that, you're going to lose weight and keep it off. Same thing with business. When you look at it and go, what does a manufacturer or financial services or whatever the business is, what do these people do that are great? Well, guess what? They don't stop growing.
Yeah. What's interesting when you talk about that example of the manufacturing firm and getting nervous, what's fascinating to me is that individual, when they started the business, didn't think about risk, only thought about opportunity, only thought about success, only thought about this grandiose thing they wanted to build. And then once they get it to a certain level, they fall into sort of protection mode and they stray from that growth mode. And it's fascinating to watch businesses do this. We all do it. It really hits all of us, and it takes a concerted effort to keep growing and to not push the pause button and just keep going along at the pace you're at, saying, hey, this is enough now. But yeah, there's real risk in there when you grow. But isn't that the point? Certainly
Yeah.
was the point when you started the business.
Yeah, and I think especially in the financial services world, a lot of owners in those types of companies, they make a lot of money and they don't have to work very hard. And it's almost like, well, why do I need to keep growing? I'm already
Yeah.
fine. All right, but let me ask this question. Is work as enjoyable for you now as it was when you were first started? You remember, like, when you're
Yeah.
first starting your company, you're working all kinds of hours and
Yep.
you're so excited and you're nervous as all get out, right? And
Yep.
blah 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 blah. And then you finally build it up to this really nice piece of business and you're making a lot of money and you relax. Well, where's that excitement again? I'm not saying you need to work ungodly hours. That's not
Of
where I'm
course.
going.
Yeah.
But man, get the energy back again. Start to
Yep.
grow again, and it's not about you being happy. It's or content, I guess I should say. Let's get going. And the best time to do that is when things are already going well.
Yep. Yep.
Great.
So Leigh, you said a couple interesting things on the marketing side. You said maybe it's time to change your messaging.
Yep.
And the other thing, I don't know that you actually said it, but you alluded to is tone of that messaging matters, and maybe it needs to alter or shift. Can you talk a little bit about that on that marketing side? And when it comes to good, bad times, doesn't really matter, but the need to continually adjust the message, the tone, and the feel that people get based on circumstances and reality.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the difference between how people feel in a bear market and a bull market is vastly different. So why would you talk to people the same throughout? The Having a good sense of kind of the overall kind of national tone is a really smart thing to do. And I think a lot of this comes from having good relationships with your clients, having built solid relationships with your clients so that you fully understand when things take a downturn what their primary concerns and challenges are. Those are really good pieces to develop your message around. I mean, we always talk about thinking about the pain points. And this is a point in time where people may be having some pain points. And so, how can your messaging and your products help to soothe that pain at this point? I think that's a very smart thing. This is another really good time also to keep an eye on your competition. What's your competition doing? What's their messaging looking like? Who are they talking to? Um, this is all research that you should be doing on your own, but it's also really smart to be taking a look because we don't always know everything and we don't always connect with the same people. But being cognizant of what's going on around you with your competitors can also help you significantly in times like this. And not to be too cutthroat, but there's possibilities that people may not make it through a downturn. So there could be business opportunities for you there as well if you're taking a look at the competition.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. Dan, can you talk a little bit about the mental, the psyche side of sales and up and down markets and how it kind of tends to we stray. What I think about is, especially in the financial services insurance world, there's that tendency to narrow your focus to your existing clientele and hold on to what you got. And if you get something new along the way, it's fine, but you're not really making the efforts that you used to relative to growth and new sales. You have that hunker down mentality a little bit. So can you talk a little bit about that and just sales in general and how it impacts the emotional side or roller coaster side for that salesperson as good and bad economic times come and go?
What's that one saying? The enemy of great is good,
Yeah.
or something along those
Yep.
lines. If
Yep.
you've built a good business, but not a great business.
Mm.
And I look at a great business as being one where it can be passed down for generations. And I look at a great business as one that can bless your community and the organizations that you love and cherish. And the question is, how much is enough? I always hear that. Well, how much do I really need to make money for myself? Well, as much as you possibly can, because otherwise you're ripping people off, so to speak, if you don't do that. Just my opinion. And so when I look at sales, when is the best time to make a sale? When's the best time to make a cold call? When's the best time to ask for a referral? It's after you just made a sale.
Yeah.
That's the best time. And
Because
yet
you're upbeat, all those things. Yeah.
bingo. And so many people, they make a sale and they're like, Yahoo, I don't have to work the rest of this week or this month or this year. But they're missing the golden opportunity. Strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. And I think this kind of comes down to what kind of people are we? If we accomplish a challenge, are we the type of person that just relaxes now for the rest of their life on that? Or are we looking and going, okay, what's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? What can I do now? And I think that's really what separates the women from the girls, the men from the boys, however you want to say that, is challenge yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in there's a little bit of a division of, I guess we could say, labor in my household with my wife and I and our 4 kids. And my wife's line was always, one of the kids would do something, accomplish something, something good would happen. And my wife would congratulate them. And the next words out of her mouth were, all right, what's next?
Mhm.
And she was that one that always pushed and always pushed and always pushed. And for a long time, the kids struggled with it. They're like, can't we just bask in the glory? And can't she join us here and have a part? There was that kind of feel. But she was just trying to get them to think, hey, look, this isn't the end. You haven't accomplished something that's incredibly vast that it's time to be done. So what's next? And that mentality has helped them a lot as they've gotten older and become young adults, because when they get through something, it's all right, pretty cool now. And that helps. It helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Any last thoughts on marketing, sales, good times, bad times, life as we know it?
Well, I always look at it, if you're not continuously moving forward, you're dying. And I get it. There are times in our lives where we need to camp
Sure.
and take a break.
Yep.
Sure.
But don't stay there too long, because
Yes.
if you stay there too long, you start to go backwards.
Yeah. I have a hard time coming out of the holidays, getting going again.
Mhm.
Every year I deal with this. Last week was brutal. This week's a little bit better. Next week will be normal. But it takes me a little bit of time from sitting and hanging and family time to get back into the flow. It just does.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
What do you think, Leigh? What kind of last thoughts do you want to leave?
So John and I have been working on a white paper that's getting ready to drop soon about staying ahead of the curve. And how to stay ahead of the curve in a variety of different ways. And one of the concepts that I've really been doing a lot of reading on for this is about future proofing your business. And I think
Mm.
that's a lot of the things that we're kind of at the heart of now. Dan, when you were talking about, a business that can be handed down that has a lasting legacy, that's future proofing. And that's the type of thing where you develop a business that you're smart enough to always be looking ahead, anticipating changes, and getting your business in a place that, yeah, the market's going to go up and down, the economy is going to change, but your business is vital and smart and ready to weather and tackle those changes. So I definitely encourage people to take a little bit of time. There's some really good TED Talks on future proofing. I definitely recommend that. That's a good area to start looking into.
Good stuff. All right. So tone messaging, keep marketing through good and bad. To your point, Dan, there's no better time to make hay when times are good. So if you get aggressive when times are good, those rough times aren't as rough either. And that goes a long way. So, all right, everybody, have a great 2023.
Take care.